Hey guys, welcome to our channel. My name is Bethany and this is going to be our first video we upload. It took me a lot of encouraging to do this video because I wanted to share so much what I went through, because everyone experiences different things through their pregnancies, and I felt like I wanted to share this to help anyone out. I was 17 at the time when I found out I was pregnant. I didn't have any signs I was pregnant, so I didn't know I was. I was craving some weird stuff at the start of my pregnancy. I was craving fizzy sweets, pop. I was craving loads of sweetness and sourness, and I just thought that was normal because I was due my period. I took 2 pregnancy tests on the 27th of January 2019 and they both came back positive. My mother saw both of the pregnancy tests say I was pregnant, and me and Dale didn't get to watch that happen. So really, we missed finding out if I was pregnant ourselves because my mother was in charge in a way. I didn't believe I was pregnant because I was 17 and I guess 17 is not young, but I get it's not suitable to have a kid at that age. But to me, everything happens for a reason. And I was shocked, but I was happy because I was given to raise a life for a reason. We had 2 options of aborting the baby and keeping the baby. We both decided to keep the baby because it was meant to be. But we had some people saying to abort the baby because they wanted us to continue our career. Now, I understand that having a baby does change your life, but it doesn't stop you from having the career you want. You just have to be determined to get that career. Now, I am determined to get the life I want, and I'm going to raise the life for my child so that they can have everything they've ever wanted. I'm not going to let what people tell me ruin what could make me change for the better. We told Dale's family and they were really supportive. They told us to make our own decision. They told us to do what would make us happy. And we decided to keep the baby. We went for my first ever scan on the 13th of February, and all they could see was a little sac. This photo in the left hand corner is my first scan, and that is the sac. That is where the baby is, but the baby hasn't started forming yet. Oh God, I got a really stuffy nose all of a sudden. So they told us to come back in 2 weeks' time so they can do another scan to see if there's been any improvements. 2 weeks later, this scan was done. There was a sign of a baby. The heartbeat wasn't strong enough for them to pick up yet, so they said to come back in 2 weeks' time. But then they also said there was a sign of 2 babies. Now, I wasn't even ready for 1 baby, let alone 2. But when they said that to me, I laughed and I literally almost cried. I looked at Dale and we both just went, this can't be happening. So 2 weeks after that scan, we went back and the second structure was gone. So they said the other thing was an implantation. So that was like a big blood thing. I'm not exactly what it was, but it was just a big blood thing next to the baby, and shortly that had left because I experienced bleeding during my start of the pregnancy. And the third scan was the scan we saw the baby's heartbeat. And it was amazing. It was honestly like, I don't know how to explain it unless you've experienced it. It was the best thing ever to witness. I absolutely loved it. Every bit of that scan I took in, and I was just looking at the computer and was like, how am I growing that? Then on the 28th of March, I went for my last early scan. The reason I went for these early scans was to make sure I wasn't having an ectopic pregnancy, because they are very common for young girls who are pregnant, and that was all clear. So the 28th of March was my last ever scan I had in the early pregnancy care, and this was when the baby was in its full features, basically. Now, we could see the baby's head, the body, but legs and arms weren't fully formed yet, but they were at the same time. It was 50-50 formed, 50-50 not formed. This is also when we told people that we were expecting. People were congratulating us, people were saying, oh my god, no way. People were happy that we were pregnant, but then that changed. I had people telling me I ruined my life. I had people saying I can't get the life I wanted. And I had people calling me names that aren't acceptable. One of the names really upset me, because why do us girls get treated as if we're nothing because we're pregnant? It doesn't make sense. If you're pregnant and you're a girl and you're young, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change who you are. You're still the same old person, and I think people need to understand what it's like to be pregnant at a young age and have that happen to them. I'm going on a rant. My bad. So yeah, a lot of people were happy and supportive, but then there was also people that didn't agree with it, but that's fine, you get that everywhere, but then don't deserve it in a way. This is when I started also feeling the baby move more, feeling kicks. I had an anterior placenta, which means it's at the front of the baby. I'm not sure, so that means the movements are less likely to happen. So I think it was when I was like around 24, 22 weeks pregnant I felt the baby move fully. I'm not sure, but either way, it's still amazing. It's still movement, and it's crazy, honestly. I was shocked when I felt the baby move for the first time. I was like, I don't like this, because it was weird. Having something kick your stomach is really weird, but it was amazing at the same time. I wouldn't change it for the world. Then in May we had our gender reveal, and this video is going to show you what we had. So here's the video.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So yes, we had a baby girl, and her name is Amelia Evelyn Reese. Now, when I found out I was having a girl, I was shocked. We did so many midwives? We did so many old wives' tales, and so many of them said we were having a girl. Now, I didn't believe that I was having a girl all through my pregnancy. And it explained a lot. Why I craved fizziness, why I was having bad breakouts. Like, my skin was so bad. Because they say, if you're having a girl, they steal your beauty. Well, okay then. So my skin was really bad, and it made me feel really insecure through my pregnancy because my shoulders had broke out so bad. My back was covered in spots and it was dreadful. I absolutely hated it. But then I remembered I was doing something very, very amazing. I was growing a human being. And that's weird to say because it's amazing what our bodies can do at the end of the day. So that was the reveal, but then things just started to go downhill when that was happening. I had a fallout with my family and I moved in with Dale's family. My mother was supportive at the start, but then things started happening with me, Dale and the family, and we decided to leave. We did invite them to the gender reveal, but we then realised that it wasn't a good idea because it would have just been really awkward. The tension would have been really high and I didn't want that. The gender reveal was a special day for me and Dale. And even though they weren't there, we still made the most of it. Now after the gender reveal, my family was still messaging me and I just didn't enjoy it. They made me feel so low during my pregnancy, and you see all these videos where teen mums are being supported by parents, but then you also get the videos where they aren't being supported by their family. But lucky enough, I had Dale. I had his family as well. And to me, they are my family. Because they put up so much stuff for me. They gave me so much stuff as well, so I could feel at home. I went so long without having any of my stuff. At the end of my pregnancy, I then managed to get all my stuff from my family's house. And now this is like home. So after the gender reveal, also I started experience Braxton Hicks. Now they are dreadful. Sometimes the pain can be really high and sometimes the pain can just be like cramping, like you're in your period. Now I didn't know really what Braxton Hicks was, so I went to the hospital and was like, I'm getting bad pain in my stomach and I don't know what it is. So they put me on the monitor, they strapped me in and everything, and I was perfectly fine, baby was fine and everything. But then our daughter then decided that she would not move, so I would start panicking and getting scared. So then we would go to hospital quite a bit. The amount of times we went to the hospital to check on Amelia's movements was unreal, and I was starting to feel bad. But they said we would rather you come 1,000 times than you not come and there's something wrong with your baby. So I would go whenever I would feel scared. I experienced Amelia moving a lot. I was still active, surprisingly. Me and Dale one day went out for a picnic up a mountain and it was amazing. I was out of breath by the time I got up to the top, but it was great. Be as active as you can during your pregnancy, because trust me, once the baby's here, you can't be as active as you used to be. But it's a challenge having a baby. It is. But make the most of it. So pretty much then, everything was just as it seemed. My family had stopped contacting me. I would get occasionally messages from them and it would get me down, but they then stopped because they realised I wasn't bothered. I wasn't trying anymore because I had given up. I then started getting contractions 3 weeks before Amelia was due. Now, I went to the hospital. They said I was having contractions, but they couldn't do anything about it because they weren't severe contractions. And they then booked me to have a scan done in a different hospital because the baby's movements were also not the best. I went for the scan and they told me everything was fine, but then they said I needed a glucose test. Now, I asked why, and they said your baby is overweight. And I was like, what? Now I got upset because I was done with having injections. Because of my blood type as well, I needed an injection to protect the baby. So that was hard enough because I hate needles. And when they said that, I cried because there was no way I was having an overweight baby because my bump wasn't that big. It literally wasn't that big. I then wasn't happy with the service from the other hospital, so I went back to the hospital I decided to have my baby in, and they decided to give me the sweep. So I had the sweep, and the next day they started inducing me, and it was dreadful. So they started inducing me, and I had the pessary and my body was not reacting well to that. I was having contractions that were going really high, up to 100, and my body couldn't handle it, but I could handle it, but my body was shutting down. They then gave me a injection to help slow down the contractions. Then they gave me another injection, Pethidine, to help with the pain. The Pethidine was knocking me out, but every time I would have a contraction, I would wake up like that. Midwives were in and out because I just needed help now and then because of my anxiety. I didn't like being in hospital on my own because Dale wasn't allowed to stay with me. Now that made me really upset because my anxiety was quite bad. I was in a place that I didn't know. But then the midwives were really nice. They helped me, they supported me, and they were really, really nice. After the pessary had failed, they gave me another one. And the same thing happened. And then I ended up having the same injections again. And I hated it because nothing was happening. I was crying a lot because I didn't know what was wrong. I then spoke to the doctors and they said the baby's movements weren't the best still because they weren't seeing me pressing the button when I felt the baby move, and that's because I didn't feel her moving. So they were getting concerned, and they were getting concerned about me as well, but they said, we see how you are this afternoon, and if there's still no improvement, we will talk about it. So there was still no improvement. I was only 2 centimeters dilated though, and they said we can only do something if you are more than 5. And I was like, but that's just ridiculous. Then on Friday, I was in hospital for pretty much a week. So then on the Friday, my contractions were just getting worse. They were getting a lot worse. They decided to move me into the labour ward and they broke my waters for me, but they said to me that there's a good chance the waters wouldn't have broken. But before they broke my waters, they gave me 100, I don't know what it is, but they gave me the higher dosage of Pethidine, which completely knocked me out, but every time I would have a contraction, I felt it. I felt it more. It was supposed to help the pain, but it didn't help the pain, it just made me loopy. Like proper loopy, because I imagined Dale's dad as a penguin. I don't know why, but I did, and I was then crying because the Pethidine was making me knock out and I didn't want to go to sleep. I didn't want to sleep. I wanted to be there with Dale. I wanted to be awake, but it was knocking me out and I was literally having enough of it. Midwives would come in time to see if I was okay and to see if I needed anything. So they broke my waters and it wasn't as tough as they thought it was going to be. It literally just came out and that was that. They then said I needed to have an epidural. Now, I didn't want an epidural, but they said it was the better option for me considering how much I had went through the previous week. So I had the epidural and they told me it wouldn't work within 30 minutes. It worked straight away with me for some reason. I don't know why, but it did. Then the next morning it stopped working. So then a doctor came in, tried to fix the epidural, and it worked again, but then it stopped working again, and then they started to give up on it. Dale at this time was out getting some food for himself, freshening himself up before he came back. And then when Dale was back, I was still having the epidural, but they gave me a higher dosage of it this time. They gave me a lot of it, but they put it through my hand, up my body, well, up my arm to go through my body. Then it went through my body. This part, I don't know if you can see it, but from my waist down to my toes, I couldn't feel anything. And I started panicking because I couldn't feel anything. So she told me to go to sleep, so I did, and I woke up and I was panicking because I needed a toilet. Now, because I needed a toilet and I couldn't walk, I couldn't feel anything, they had to do something. And I'm not going to get into details because that's just disgusting. She then told me to get more sleep so I'm ready for when the baby comes. So I went and got more sleep. But when I woke up, it wasn't how I wanted to wake up. I woke up and I was on my side and my arms were over my chest like this, and there was a midwife holding my arms there, and she was telling me to stay awake, but I couldn't stay awake for some reason. I kept passing out and I could just feel there was people rushing around, something was beeping. Turned out my blood pressure was going really high and then dropping drastically. It was dropping and going really high again. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but my partner Dale, he was all the way at the back. I could see him and I was scared because I could see him. He looked scared. He told me that there were 3 midwives and probably around 4 doctors in the room trying to get me conscious again. Then when I came back, it was like it didn't happen. I was better. I didn't really focus or understood what happened. So I came back and I was just looking around, looking at Dale. I smiled. Midwives and doctors left the room and they were happy. Now, I didn't know when your blood pressure goes really high, it can cause you to go into a cardiac arrest. Now, I am so lucky that that didn't happen. I'm honestly so lucky that I didn't have a cardiac arrest. Because if I did, that would have changed my life completely. But it didn't happen, so I am thankful for that. So then after that had all happened, the midwife told me to get more sleep, and I was like, I'm too scared to go back to sleep considering what happened last time. So I ended up going back to sleep, and the epidural had worn off and it wasn't working still. So I went back to sleep and I woke up and the baby was ready to come. So Amelia started coming at 4 o'clock on Saturday the 5th of October. So I started pushing and it literally felt like I was going to die. It was painful. But then again, that's me talking. It's not painful for everyone. I'm just over dramatic, so it is what it is. But I was pushing only for 28 minutes, so I am proud and I'm so grateful for that. The midwives and doctors were shocked because they had a cesarean ready, all planned for me. And I didn't need a C-section, so lucky for me, I did it naturally. I had my baby naturally. And I didn't want a C-section anyway because it would have, no. I'm glad I didn't. But to the people that have C-sections, you guys are amazing. You guys have brought your babies into the world amazingly. And to me, a C-section is still natural. Because some people can't physically push and have the baby. So people who have had C-sections, I'm proud. I would be able to do it because no. It would make me scared, people going into my stomach whilst I'm awake. That's just scary. But the doctor was proud, everyone was proud of me because I did it all by myself. And then Amelia was born at 4:28 p.m. October the 5th, 2019. First thing I said when they put her on my chest, is she a girl? Is she definitely a girl? They said yes, she's definitely a girl. I look over and Dale's crying his eyes out and I'm just sat there like, I just did that. And this is my baby, because she was laying here on my chest and I still had the gas and air in my hand, and I was like, this is my baby. What? They weighed her and she was 6 pounds and 11 ounces. Our first ever night as parents. It was amazing. The first week was very hard for us to get into routine. It was weird that I didn't have a bump or anything, but it was amazing having our little girl in our arms. Thank you for watching this video. This is our little girl Amelia and she is currently 4 months old. If you enjoyed the video, give a big thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. We are planning on posting a video every Monday and Friday, so if you would like to know when we post them, turn on post notification. Our Instagram and Snapchats will be in the link below, so if you want to follow us, then go ahead. But for now, we will see you next time.